Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Matt the Franchise podcast. I am so glad to have you guys back with me here today. We're going to get back in the routine of uploading more episodes of the podcast. So, thank you guys for being patient and understanding while we've been trying to get this all set up. So, we are going to get back into rolling into doing new episodes. There's going to be a lot of new content this coming year, a lot of new ideas and stuff that we're going to be working on and helping bring to life. So stand by, guys. There's going to be some new stuff and some new cool stuff, along with just about anything. Um, you never know what's going to come out on the Map the Franchise channel this year. There's going to be a lot of new stuff, a lot of stuff that you guys like to see already. So don't worry if you think that everything's going to be changing. It's not. We're still going to be creating the content that you guys enjoy, the stuff that you guys like to watch, and the stuff that you guys expect to see on this channel always. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about something that's a little bit of a special thing to me. We're going to talk about what got me into what kind of really brought my journey to where it started, basically. This is going to be a multiple part series that I'll be doing throughout the year. And it'll be kind of me kind of like talking about the steps that it took me to get to where I've gotten, or at least some of them. So we're going to start with my childhood and the talking about some of probably the most important details of my life, which are some of the things that happened in my childhood mainly. Um, for me, we're going to be kind of, like I said, we're going to be going through this through multiple phases. So the first phase we're going to be doing is talking about what got me into the idea of wanting to actually work at ChuckECheese as a kid. Um, I know this is something that a lot of people want me to talk about, so here we are. We're going to talk about it. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main things. Of course, for those who don't know, of course, my name is Matt. I was born and raised in a little city called Corpus Christi, Texas, and home of many things. One of them being Farrah Fawcett, who was best known as a Charlie's Angel, and of course, legendary Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla. Those are, and of course, the other most important thing that Corpus is known for, Whataburger. And so when I grew up, I grew up, like I said, small town basically. Um, Kind of had a little bit of a normal childhood. So one thing's for sure is that it was your average childhood. Went to a lot of places as a kid, and grew up um, normal town. That kind of thing. It wasn't until I got older that I kind of started to like really like the brand Chuck E. Cheese. Um, I started going in the late '80s, early '90s. My earliest memory is going to Chuck E. Cheese around, I think I was 3, because my earliest like real memory that I remember everything from, specifically, was my birthday, my fourth birthday at Chuck E. Cheese. I have pictures from my second birthday. I'm not sure if I have any for my third birthday or not, but I know there's some out there. Uh, and then of course I know I've got pictures and videos from my fourth birthday, which I have in my personal archive. Um, and those were kind of the start of everything. Was that video of my fourth birthday and a visit to Chuck E. Cheese during the holidays of 1991, basically. Um, it really kind of came into a fruition when I was, starting to get a little bit older and stuff. I remember like there was a couple things that I wanted to do with my life at the time, and one of them was to be a meteorologist. I wanted to do something like important, and I felt something serious with my life, and something I felt that would actually matter. And I bet you're wondering, how did he get from wanting to be a meteorologist to a Chuck E. Cheese employee? Kind of an interesting one to say the least. But we're gonna get more into that here in a little bit. Um, but getting back to it, those early visits to Chuck E. Cheese when I was really really young are what kept those memories alive, and of course the fact that my mom videotaped those memories and that's what really helped keep those memories alive. She had a couple of my birthday visits and just to help keep my memories alive for me as well too. And that's really what kind of started everything. Um, that's what really started to get me into it. And then as time would go on, she would record it. Like anytime we go to Chuck E. Cheese or something, she would record some of those visits as well too. So after that, it was just she also recorded a time we went during Christmas time, and then later on she filmed another visit, and then just things like that just kind of just built up over the years. The other visit was also the one where I saw Mr. Munch for the first time as walking around stores and stuff. Because at the time, the only time you'd ever see Munch would be on stage. The only person who would ever come off the stage would be Chucky. So to see Munch come off was definitely a pretty cool thing to actually happen. So basically, it was just kind of one of those like you never. It's one you would never see the other characters like come out. So that was like a big deal. Like seeing Munch out of nowhere, just it was wild. And then of course one of my most famous videos on my YouTube channel, Munch versus Chucky, came out of that too. Couple years fast forward, and finally we start to see Helen and Jasper as well too. Um, Never would see Munch anymore. And anytime I'd ever ask about Pasquale, they would always say he was in the kitchen making pizzas. And of course, me being the sucker, I'd always believe it. But Pasquale would never come out of the kitchen. And I would always be sad because I always wanted to meet Pasquale. What a foreshadowing for that. For those who know, you know. Anyways, so I remember just like being intrigued by that, but also I had another thing that was also intriguing me as well too. And one of those things was a was the Weather Channel, meteorology specifically. I was very intrigued by the whole concept of being somebody who checks the weather and really kind of does something important like that specifically. And I remember like I'd always watch the Weather Channel to see like what the weather would be like outside that day, but also what would it be like, the rest of the afternoon or those kind of things. And I don't know, it's just something about the Weather Channel back in the 90s specifically that was just completely different and just a different vibe than what it was, nowadays. So for me it was always like, there was always something going on there. And so whenever I watch it, I would just be intrigued and I would want to learn how they would be able to predict this stuff and how this would all come to life and all that stuff. And so, I was very intrigued by it and it just gave me like another like interest that I really enjoyed. I remember I would kind of bring the two together and like I'd also have these moments where I'd have like lights set up, like these little like flashlights set up in my room, and that would be where the stage was. So that was kind of my way of like representing the show. Or I'd have like a bunch of like Christmas lights in my room as well too. My mom would get mad at me because I'd have them in my room, and I would like pretend like they were the characters' stage lights and stuff and all that. So I'd find different ways to recreate Chuck E. Cheese in my house when I was a kid. I'd have the plushies set up in order, in the stage order, and all that kind of stuff. I remember I'd have like little Lego figurines that I created of them as well too. That was later on though, but early on it was mainly the plushies. And I remember I would play those old tapes specifically all the time. And I'm surprised those tapes did not break because those tapes were pretty old, and of course they didn't work. So it was just one of those things where it was kind of like, man, I really wish I actually had those characters. Boy, was that an extreme foreshadowing. So I continued to dabble into it a little bit more, and I was like, mind you, I was like, this story goes between the ages of basically 4 years old to 9 years old, basically for me. This is the kind of stuff I would do during this time frame to really appreciate, what I had at the time and how I was able to really kind of have that feeling of having Chuck E. Cheese at home, basically. So I was trying to find different ways to do it. I'd borrow, I would have like the plushies set up. I'd have mini flags set up as well too, and those would be, I would just put them in between the side of my bed, and I would wave them like the flags in the store and all that too. And people, I would always do that just to kind of keep myself entertained as well too. And I would, like I said, I would play those old tapes and stuff, or um, I would also, if I remember the songs that were playing in store, then I would play them like that as well too. And that was just kind of my way of like bringing it to life, more or less. We go more into it, and then I'm trying to remember. But like, yeah, that was something that we would always do, and like that was just kind of my way of just having fun and just enjoying what I could had at the time. I was not one of those people that ever like. I was one of those kids who would play with their toys basically until they fell apart, or I would use my stuff up until it ran out, or it doesn't work anymore. But it was definitely fun times. It was something I really enjoyed. Um, Other people seem to enjoy it too, and so we continue to. Of course, when you get older, everybody doesn't like kid stuff as much, or they try to grow out of it or outgrow it. And there was a point in my life where I was trying to outgrow the hobby basically. But of course, I didn't realize what it was at the time. And so I didn't realize it was going to become all this basically. And never in a million years did I ever think that it would actually come to this, what I've got right now at this point. And I'm really really blessed to have that specifically, all this stuff that I've got here. But anyways, so I would still watch the Weather Channel as well too. I was also really intrigued by all that. Early on, I started telling people that I wanted to be a weatherman. I remember how badly I wanted to be a weatherman. Like I was like, it was my determination to be a weatherman. Get behind the screen and start showing the weather, and showing the local on the eights, all that stuff like they used to do on the Weather Channel. Of course, I didn't realize that the Weather Channel at the time was like, I know that they would show the weather for other cities and states and stuff, but of course, as a kid, that doesn't sometimes comprehend in your head that there's other areas that they would represent and stuff like that. And so it was kind of one of those things where I was trying to determine, like, how is this going to work, or how would I be able to know the weather for different parts of the world if of course, as a kid, you don't think about this stuff. I'm only 6 or 7 years old, so I'm not really thinking in the full logic on how was I actually going to see all these cities' weathers you know, without that kind of stuff. So I would, as time would go on, when I started to realize that, I was starting to quote unquote outgrow the whole Chuck E. Cheese thing as a kid. I was starting to think like, yeah, maybe I should be a weatherman and just do that full time. Now I remember later on, the what's it called? Um, I started to also realize that my heart was also in another place too, Chuck E. Cheese, and I never outgrew it. I just was like, okay, this is. I was starting to realize that this might become more of a thing once I finally got when I got the two flags when the store remodeled and stuff too, which I know I've shared that story multiple times before. Um, but it started to come down to it, and I was starting to realize, like, yeah, I really want to make this happen. I really want to, um, I really want to make this a reality and stuff, and just really want to, um, bring this thing to life and maybe work there. I remember there was a guy there that worked at the Chuck E. Cheese that I went to as a kid. That was one of the key factors into me wanting to work there. His name, ironically, was Matthew, Matthew Liao. Uh, he played a big part in my whole reason of wanting to work there. Him and the GM Joe, they both played a big factor in wanting to be a part of that world. Matt was more of the influence and the energy that he would bring because he was normally one of the people I would see all the time at Chuck E. Cheese when I was growing up. I'd always run into him. He'd always be there on Sundays when I would go. And I remember he would always be like the most enthusiastic whenever it came to dancing. He'd be the most enthusiastic when it came to like just checking on me. He was a great guy. He was awesome. You know, he knew how to deal with an annoying kid all the time who would come up to him all the time and bother him. I wonder who that was. Not anybody in particular or anything. Excuse me. So, in addition to that, basically it was like, I was like, this guy's, somebody I want to, inspire to be, because he was just so energetic. He was so enthusiastic, and he made me love what I was doing or what I was seeing. Of course, mind you, this was also before I knew that Chucky was supposed to be woken up by somebody. So that obviously, I didn't know the difference at the time. So I wanted to be possibly a party host, the person, basically the guy who hosts the party for the party, all that kind of stuff. Not realizing that, that being the person who wakes up the character is somebody um, you could actually be. I didn't realize that that was a job description. I thought that Chucky was real and that he would actually perform for y'all out there. So that's kind of how my mind was going with all that as well. So I was kind of like trying to figure out really what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And I remember that was kind of the first thing in me realizing that, okay, this is something I might want to do. There's an energy to this that's bringing me in, that's sucking me in, and makes me want to be a part of this. And again, then that's where it kind of became a thing where I was trying to decide which one that I want more than anything. Did I want to be a meteorologist, or did I want to work at Chuck E. Cheese as a party host? And so, like, I was very, very torn between the two. I was very legitimately torn because I wanted to do both. I wanted to be able to um, create special moments for people by being the person who helps get the party going. Always liked, I always liked being the life of the party as a kid too. It's weird though because it's funny because at first I would be really, really, really shy. Like, no joke. I would be the most shy person you would ever meet sometimes. And it would take me a little bit to actually kind of come out of my shell sometimes. Whenever I'd be like at somewhere or doing something, um, and I would be like really wanting to, and then eventually when I would come out of my shell, I would be good to go. So, um, But anyway, and then of course there's also the idea of also being a meteorologist and making a difference in the world. Being able to do something that people can like and that you'll be appreciated for, and just doing something that matters in the world. And then the other one was helping ChuckECheese. And well, I think we all know which one I ended up choosing. When I got older and I started to realize that, you know, that waking up Chucky was like a position that I could do, that's when it changed everything. And so that's when I decided to really start to bring, it was like bring everything together, and I wanted to actually do that. And it's funny because I could have done the same thing being a meteorologist, but I kind of figured I'd have more fun doing something that I really loved and had fun doing something that I felt like I would be really good at. I did not think that it would last 20 years, or in this case, 21 years now. It's just completely wild to think about that it's actually continued this long and this legacy has built to this point. It's wild to think about, honestly. Um, but it's one of those things where I'm truly grateful for the fact that I've been able to still do it and still be able to make a difference in people's lives, and being able to be the entertainer that I've always wanted to be. I've gotten to do some really cool things, because of it, which we'll get into that at some point. That'll be also a future podcast episode as well too. We'll do an episode where I'll actually talk more about all the things that I've gotten to do while working for the brand and working for ChuckECheese, and taking a part in all the great things that I've been able to do. It's pretty neat little part of the world, honestly. So, but we'll get to that another day. Continuing on with this one though, but I still think about like what would have happened if I decided to become a meteorologist. Honestly, would have had the same success? Probably not, because I wouldn't have been as much in the loop as I would have with ChuckECheese like I am now, and or would I have been just a normal person. The thing is though, and I think about this too, if I had decided to go that normal person route, I wouldn't know the great people that I do right now that are watching this stuff on YouTube. I wouldn't be able to do all the stuff that I thought, like all the stuff that I've been able to, and have the success that I've had, all the people that I've met, all the relationships that I've built with people, and all that stuff. That none of that would have ever happened. Which wouldn't be talking to any of you right now on YouTube. Wouldn't be talking to any of you on TikTok right now who are watching this live. I wouldn't be friends with probably any of y'all, because I would just been an average person doing an average job. And to be honest, I could not see myself doing that. I love being an entertainer, and I love being able to make people happy. I love bringing joy to people's lives like the way I do now. It's truly a blessing to be able to entertain you guys and to make y'all happy, and to bring this special kind of feeling to y'all. Those who have watched my videos over the years and have either helped come have helped bring something to it, or have always just been here since the very beginning. Because I know there's a lot of y'all that have been here since the beginning, and there are some of y'all who just joined me on this journey, and I'm still very grateful for all of y'all. Y'all are what have kept me going over these past several years. But honestly, when I ended up getting when Corpus Christi when the Corpus Christi ChuckECheese remodeled, that's really what got me back into the whole ChuckECheese thing, was obviously that. The fact that they saved those two flags just for me and were willing to, save them for me at the time, is still kind of a really important thing for me, especially with my childhood. My whole life was made on that moment, basically. I'm still very appreciative for Joe for doing that for me because it's helped me become who I am today. Honestly, I'm very appreciative of them for that. I'm also very, very, very thankful for Matt as well too. Um, Matt played such an important role in my life as well too. Growing up, um, he had a big role in be in that kind of stuff as well too. Um, Somebody's actually asking in the chat, did I actually have to audition when I worked there? I actually did not. Um, but yeah, I wish I if I did, I'm pretty sure I know what it would have looked like though. Because honestly, I had actually been rehearsing um, before I actually started there. Which when we get to that'll be another topic when we start to talk about the whole like me getting the job part. That'll be the next part of this whole series. This is kind of just like the origins of what was really what really got me into wanting to work there as a kid and what made me want to be that person. So or be a part of that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of just like the logist of like where we started and all. So there we go. But most definitely, I would have definitely wanted to have to audition if I did. Um, there we go. But anyways, it's been that's definitely where it all kind of originated from and all that, and that's kind of like the origin story or basically the beginning process of what got me into it and what influenced me more importantly to want to get to that point in my life and what wanted me to actually pursue working there as a kid. We'll definitely be rolling into more of the teenage years of Matt the franchise and where where we came from and how we got there. Because that's gonna be a topic for a different day. That's gonna be probably the part two of this series. We're gonna do it in multiple sections, from the move to to everything that I've had to go through. We're gonna talk about all about it. We're gonna eventually kind of get to through that entire series. Um, this will be called, of course, obviously, this is part of what we'll call the my CEC journey and where we are and where we came from and how we got there. So I was definitely say that I'm very, very grateful for y'all hanging out with me this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. And as always, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank y'all for watching and getting through this. If you made it to the end of this video, I would love for y'all to throw in a pizza slice at the end of this video in the comments on YouTube. And if you can, tell me what your favorite video game at ChuckECheese's was, whether it's past, present, or future. In the meantime, between time, guys, I just want to say a quick thank you for watching this live stream and this podcast. As always, I am Matt the Franchise, and as we always say around here, keep your head up and keep on smiling. Bye, guys!